Alrighty then. Greetings, Pathfinders! I'm your host, Dustin Knight, and welcome to Infiknight Reviews. Tonight, we have the latest and greatest Pathfinder and Starfinder Infinite reviews being hosted live on the Paizo official Twitch channel. First, I will need to clarify that all views on this show are my own and have not been reviewed or endorsed by Paizo or any creators of these products. My ongoing goal is to showcase and review as many products on Pathfinder and Starfinder Infinite as possible. If you have any requests of products I haven't already given a thorough review, please feel free to contact me on social media or shout out here in chat. So, is everyone ready to start the show? Let's go. So, we got 3 amazing new releases this week that really caught my eye. The first of which is Amorphic Adventures. Longtime watchers of the show probably know that I absolutely adore the Ooze Morph and everything that allows a PC to enjoy playing out the fantasy of being an ooze, a slime, what have you, and this book definitely delivers on that promise. It is a rare ancestry by Eliseo Maggie with a suggested price of $1. It includes 6 heritages and 20 ancestry feats, plus a lot of background that really helps expand on ideas in different ways that you could play a amorphic character. These include everything from the different deities you could worship to how you'd fit in or not fit into society, what others might think of you, and all the other information you would need to play a character like this. The ancestry itself comes with different heritages, such as adhesive film makes it so you could climb a little bit better. Edible jello means you could eat parts of your body and feed them to other people, which may not be for everyone. Eldritch Whisper makes you a little bit less susceptible to the harsh realities of the occult and aberrations around you. Infused Core lets you have a minor energy resistance and later has some tie-ins with future feats you could get. Every Amorphic gets the Pseudopod attack. It does a d6, it's a natural weapon, and you get to fluff it however you want, so you can make it like the arm here that you see, and you also get change shape. You can look like a humanoid that then uses these ooze features whenever you need them, or turn into a blob as such. When you're in blob form, you lose your vision, but you do get motion sense. I like that a lot. There's a lot a GM could do with that, depending on the kind of enemies you're fighting at a time, potentially making certain like constructs or undead that don't maybe have a full range of animated motion maybe invisible to you unless you want to change shape, but it doesn't hinder the character nearly as much as some other oozy past edition ooziness that makes it so you are extremely restricted to your blob form. This one doesn't do that, so they did a good job making it a solid. If you want to just play a little oozy bubble at all times, you could definitely do it with this ancestry. But what really makes this shine are, of course, the ancestry feats. So you got adaptive mimicry. You can look like other people without a disguise kit because you could just flesh around your oozy flesh, all Clayface style. Got Amorphic lore, helps you, you know a lot about Amorphics. You could probably use that to identify certain oozes as well, depending on your GM. Echoes of Genesis gives you a primal cantrip that you could change with 10 minutes. Friendly Little Slime, which I gotta love that feat. It's, you get a slime companion, but familiar, but that's okay because it's a friendly little slime, so you don't have to worry about it hurting anyone in the party, and you could even have that slime absorb into your body if you want to keep your familiar safe, and which of course further engulfs that fantasy of playing an ooze. You got goo projectiles, so you could shoot your pseudopod out, much like that artwork of, I believe that's an oil ooze. Roiling ooze down there. Limbless Nimbleness lets you interact to a limited extent while you're in your ooze form. So you could open doors, hold items. You could do some stuff while you're a puddle, not just, your pseudopod and moving around. And Slithering Slime lets you squeeze around a lot more easily. You know, you got to squeeze if you're an ooze. I mean, that just comes right with the territory, right? 5th level, you get Adept Appendage, lets you get an appendage even though you are just an ooze. This was frequently used by ooze morphs back in 1E to try to communicate basic ideas with each other by mimicking. It's really fun at a table in person when you're mimicking your arms around and trying to make gestures to get people to understand what you're trying to say. Of course, since change shape as an ooze morph is only one action, it's a lot less restrictive and should be pretty easy if you need to go into humanoid form and be like, over there, guys, there's something bad over there. But it is more fun to mimic it out, so I do appreciate that. Cavern Climber gives you a climb speed at level 5. You could just roil up the walls and ceilings like a proper little ooze. Quad Up Adaptation gives you amphibious trait and speed while you're in your full ooze form. Environmental Resistance gives you some resistance to a energy type, acid, cold, electricity, fire, poison. Phagocize, I can't pronounce that word. Phagocize? I need to practice speaking these words. This feat lets you envelop a creature limited number of times and basically feed on their remnants or feed on some of their life energy. Which is a good way to bypass that whole tricky cannibalism problem. You're feeding on their life energy as an ooze, using your ooze nature to do so to get some temporary hit points, which I like that as an ancestry feat. I do enjoy ancestry feats that give temporary hit points because not everyone is going to be a caster and have access to that, and it is an important survival mechanism in this game. Sudden Burst lets you do whatever type of damage your pseudopod does, usually modified through that heritage earlier, to everybody around you. You basically, to action, you burst forth. It's so much ooziness that you hurt the people around you. Corrosive Touch gives you some additional persistent acid on a critical hit with your pseudopod. Glimpses from Beyond gives you paranoia and touch of idiocy, so you get some kind of gibbering, aberrant ooziness thrown into your flavor there. Ooze Empathy is the classic ooze morph ability that lets you kind of make friends with other oozes. Incredible Sensory Cells gives you a motion sense imprecise sense even when you're not in your ooze form, and it extends it when you're in your ooze form. Extinctive Form Deprivation lets part of your oozeness kind of protect you against trauma by using your change shape ability. And Patient Predator gives you some more camouflage. There is a heritage that's all about camouflage, the Omni Pigment or the Adaptive Mimicry, and this gives you even more bonuses and lets you change your color so you could hide more easily. Finally, the capstone ancestry feat for this ancestry, Overflowing Form, lets you essentially use ooze form, ooze shape. I'm so sorry, what's that feat called? That spell called. When using change shape, you gain the effects of a 5th level casting of ooze form. And you could just do that all day long. I mean, there's some limits to it, but for the most part, you get ooze shape for as long as you need, which a 5th level spell, unlimited at level 17, it's a bit strong, but this is a rare heritage, and that's not that. I think that's fine. It doesn't change. It doesn't give you the temporary hit points. It does make your size large with a 10-foot reach. You could maintain that ooze shape indefinitely. The feat does also give you additional 10 hit points effectively, as it changes your ancestral hit points from 10 to 20, which, that's great. I love this ancestry. There's a lot you could do with it. Man, there's even a lot you could do with this with heritages. You could be like, I mean, Flesh Warp's the most obvious that comes to mind, but, I mean, you could be like a Ifrit ooze if you want to be like a roiling, bubbling, kind of lava-ish ooze. You could be ASMR ooze if you want that kind of divinity, kind of a creature of pure essence of one of the planes to come down. Of course, the Proteans would fit very well as well if you want to play like a Ganzi Amorphic. So yeah, it looks really fun. If Ooze Morph, the archetype, wasn't quite giving you enough gas and you wanted to be even oozier, maybe you should talk to your GM about picking this up and playing an Amorphic. It's only $1. That's a suggested price. So you could check this out on Pathfinder Infinite, pathfinderinfinite.com. And you could even pick it up for free. And if you like it, you could go back and pay the suggested price and show your appreciation to Alessandro Maggi. And maybe we'll get some more awesome ancestries from them. Because I got to tell you, I am digging this. I'm loving this. It's a really, really, really cool product. And you should totally check it out. Total hype for this. I love it. All right, moving on, we have one of the most talked about releases from this week, the Merrybears, a Pathfinder Ancestry Balcalder Cadavid. Merrybears is $3.99. It is 15 pages. That includes 7 heritages, 28 ancestry feats, and a ton of amazing backstory. When I first saw this, I did not know what to think. It is... I'll get right off the bat. It is the Care Bear ancestry that you think it is, and I gotta tell you, it's great. I didn't know what to expect going into this. I thought maybe this was perhaps even kind of a joke. I was like, what are we gonna do with this? But after reading the flavor, oh man, I'm all on board. This is a fantastic ancestry. Let's get into it. Let's just get into it. So full ancestry information here. It is a rare heritage. Charisma Constitution boost with the Flawn Dex. You get the Merrybear language. You get scent and low light vision. So not too much going there. But the heritages, oh man. So you got full information here on the different Merrybears of Golarion, what heritage is fit for them, where they're found. You have some from Arcadia. You have some from the Forest of Spirits in northern Tian Sha. You have some from the Verduin Forest. You have an entire castle of them. The Nublo Castle is floating in the clouds among the First World. They found really good places to integrate this heritage that doesn't interfere in any significant way with established canon and actually makes them like, yeah, I could totally see this in Golarion. This makes sense. They are all about, yes, friendship, forming bonds. They typically are more good aligned than most. Your average Merrybear is typically more neutral good aligned than most ancestries would be. But there is totally a place for that in fantasy. I really, really, really enjoy this. They are a small-sized ancestry. I don't think I remember to get that. A big part of their culture, heritage, and ancestry feats is the Merry Juice. Merry Juice functions like a alchemical leaper's elixir. It's a lower-level item that gives you bonuses to jumping. But it's so much more. Like, so many of these feats, so much of their heritage, so much of their information here goes off that Merry Juice. For most non-Merrybears, it just functions as that elixir. For Merrybears, it functions... it makes them really happy and bouncy and fun. It does so much more to them, and a lot of it depends on the different heritages that have different kinds of juices, like the Frundra here from the Crown of the World have theirs is always supernaturally cold and is done with snow carrots and berries and helps them when they're long hibernations. Each of these heritages has their own kind of, I want to say, relationship with this alchemical elixir. We'll put it that way. And I really love the heritages that go deep into things like that. This really does make this heritage come alive as more than just, I'm playing a Care Bear. There's a lot more to this than that. Not saying you couldn't just play literally a Care Bear, because, oh yeah, you could totally do that as well. So the heritages here. The Belly Rune, yes, it gives you a symbol on your belly that functions as a cantrip from the Divine or Primal spell list. And there are other feats that can add to it later. The cozy Merrybear gives you extra hit points when you hibernate, and then you might be thinking like a heritage just so I could I regain hit points every 10 minutes. You know, we have a champion in the party, or I know battle medicine. Why would I need that? There's a lot of feats in here that help with that, like that work off that, play off that. Let you regain as though you slept for 8 hours. So it's don't discount this heritage quite yet. Hidden Forest Merrybear gives you trait expertise for forest, bonuses to sneaking in forests. Honeyfeed Merrybear gives you bonuses on your make an impression check, and on your fortitude against disease. Juicekeeper Merrybear lets you make Leaper's Elixirs, gives you alchemical crafting and the formula for Leaper Elixirs, plus you make 5 instead of 4. So if you want to do stuff with the Merrybear Elixirs, you should probably check out that heritage. And you get Lazy River Merrybear. It gives you the Forage skill feat and Breath Control feat because, as it says, and I love this, you are prepared. You prepared and ate fish as a community. It is your cultural responsibility to consume as many fish as possible. Which, if you haven't seen the live cams of Alaskan bears on YouTube just chowing down on fish in rivers, I gotta tell you, it's quite addicting. You could sit there for probably 10 or 20 minutes. It's surprisingly fun to watch. I just gotta say that. Oh, and Snowdrop Merrybear. You get cold resistance, and cold effects are one step less extreme. So let's go head on to the Ancestry feats. First, you got Bear Hug, which I'm going to tell you right now, there's another higher level feat that tacks onto this. Bear Hug lets you hug someone to attempt a diplomacy check and try to treat wounds to them. So it is a positive bear hug, not the kind of grapple that you might have expected. And there's a higher level feat that also lets you kiss them when you hug them to give them even additional bonuses to make an impression. I think that's absolutely fabulous. It's so much fun. Bottom Bouncer is there's a lot of bouncy feats in this. These Merrybears, they bounce all over the place, very much like the bouncing goblins, but still substantially different. Like this one's when you take damage from falling, you can make an acrobatics check to stand and long jump as a reaction without the initial stride. So you literally bounce, and the distance that you bounce is variable depending on your acrobatics. Bug Buddies lets you communicate basic ideas and attempt diplomacy checks with insects. There's quite a bit here about talking to bugs, talking to bees, some cases defending against bugs or attacking swarms, and the first one is Bug Buddies. Claws Out gives you a claw attack because you are still a bear, and there is quite a bit here you could do as a bear. I would I've said earlier on the stream that anyone who makes a bear book, I will give a review to, and this just adds to it. I would certainly love to play a Merrybear Bear Totem Barbarian in the bear adventure that summons bears from the bear bestiary. That would be a bear of a time. Heavy Landing lets you make a creature flat-footed when you land in their square after a long or high jump, which, man, that's really cool. But this is one of those feats you have to be under the effects of Leaper's Elixir, which, not too bad, as you'll see. Merry Mix, level 1 feat, single action. You speedily shake up a short-lived bottle of Merry Juice. You create a single Leaper's Elixir that's in your formula book without having to spend the normal monetary cost in alchemical reagents or needed to attempt a crafting check. The elixir remains potent only until the start of your next turn. You could only do it once per day, at 9th level twice per day, and at 17th level 3 times per day. So you do have a first level feat that's going to give you daily Leaper Elixirs to help fuel all these other feats that give you Leaper Elixirs. There are 2 at level 1, but you got to remember, level 3, level 9, you could go ahead and take, or level 5, level 9, you could take that level 1 feat again. There is nothing. A lot of builds in Pathfinder 2nd Edition are going to take lower level Ancestry feats with their high level Ancestry feat slots. The level of the Ancestry feats do not always directly correspond to their power, because what you want to do as a character does not always necessarily easily correspond to the efficacy of each of these feats at their different levels. So there's nothing wrong at all about taking 2 first level Ancestry feats in the same character. And I have heard about a lot of play groups that play with a style where you get as many Ancestry feats as you want that make sense for your character. So there's also that too. And honestly, if people wanted an Ancestry feat for a class feat, I think 9 times out of 10 as a GM, I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. Sure, that's fine. But not always, and it is group dependent. Honey Tummy, you could re-roll a saving throw on a failed fortitude save once per day as a free action. That's fine, that's good. And of course you have Merrybear lore, because ancestries need their lore feat. Silly Little Merrybear, I love the idea behind this. A visual feat that is merely when you fail an acrobatics, performance, lore, or athletics check, you get a +1 circumstance bonus to request or make an impression against the creature who witnessed it for 10 minutes. I love that idea of, like, you know, they think you're just silly, so they're not going to be on guard against your make a request or make an impression check. I think that's really fun. That's really clever. It's well balanced. That's a really cool idea. I could see a lot of, as people would call them, cute ancestry feats having something like this. Oh yeah, and the layout looks really nice. The layout does look really nice. And and as it was said in chat here by Faceless Man, you totally can make a Winnie the Pooh style character with this. That would work just fabulously. All right. Dribble lets you bounce over and over and over again. It's not drooling, it's literally dribbling. You can bounce multiple times. You even get concealment while you're dribbling. It's single action, so it's the same as looking for cover or what have you, so it's fine. Grub Rustler lets you do precision damage against swarms and gives you bonus precision damage with your claws against swarms. Luxurious Fur gives you a really well manicured fur that gives you some resistances. Pest Control gives you some bonuses to your saves against swarms. Now, Power Nap is when we start to get into the nap build. It literally lets you, as long as you're already unconscious, you could use this ability once per day to regain hit points as though you were asleep. That would not immediately take you out of dying. It will help. I like it. I like it a lot. You still have to do all the other things required when you're unconscious to get awake. It's neat. It's flavorful, and it's nice to see people trying to work off of the regain hit points when you're asleep mechanic, because that's something that is very commonly overlooked by most players and GMs. Yep. Rustler is pretty smart, where he said, yeah, Grubluster, yes, someone who is an ancestry specialized in fighting swarms. Yeah, that is Alexander Gunas' chat saying that Rustler's pretty smart. He's never seen an ancestry specialized in fighting swarms. It is interesting, right? I mean, you gotta think, there's a lot of heritages here in the real world, cultures here in the real world that have a lot of things against protecting themselves from insects. I mean, insects are extremely dangerous, and it's nice to see that represented in some feats here. Sunspring lets you cast Jump on yourself as a first level innate spell once a day. Symbols of Friendship lets you glow your beam out to cast Charm or Sanctuary as a first level spell. It gives you a Care Bear Stare. Bounce on By gives you some more bouncing when you have your Leaper's Elixir on. Fluff Ball lets you puff your fur out. You become Clumsy 1, you gain Concealment, your size grows to large, and medium and smaller allied creatures can occupy the same space as you, also gaining Concealment. I think that's hilarious. It's great. You literally puff yourself out. Oh, and enemies in your square have to do a reflex save against their fortitude, or you could push them. I think that's hilarious. It's once every 10 minutes. You literally puff yourself out so much that people are deflected by your poof, or allies are protected by your poof. I gotta love giant poof balls. I think that's great. There's a bunch of ancestries, I'm sure, either now or in the future, that you could probably apply this to. My first thing that came to mind was Beastkin. Now I'm thinking of Bear, Beastkin, Merrybears. All right, enough of that. Jumper's Blitz. Yep, more jumping. That gives you a bonus to hit when you jump. Bonus to your strike on your next melee strike when you jump adjacent to an opponent before you do the strike. So there'll be a lot of characters who will want to get that. Micro Hibernate. It's a 3 action once per day. You are the best at sleeping! Exclamation point. Spend 10 minutes sleeping, and when you wake, you gain hit points equal to the amount of hit points you would recover by resting 8 hours. In addition, you are no longer fatigued. No longer fatigued, and reduce the severity of the doomed and drained conditions by 1. The reason I said that twice is it is so hard in Pathfinder 2e to get rid of the fatigue condition without sleeping. I mean, it's there. You could write on a post-it note. You could write, I think there's maybe 3 or 4 ways to get rid of fatigued. Like, I did last check over a year ago. There's been a lot of content since then, so I could be wrong, but fatigued is a horrible condition to get. You cannot do exploration activities while you're fatigued. You cannot, there's so much you can't do while you're fatigued, so being able to get rid of that is huge. That feat is really cool, and it does make me want to play a big sleepy bear. You could just, if your party has a cart or a magic carpet or any way at all for you to continue moving while you're asleep, I love it. I love the idea of just having a PC. You could even have a cat folk in the party too, and they could use catnap, and you could use micro hibernate, and you could just sleep around. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Magic is Friendship gives you calm emotions and shield on your Care Bear belly rune. And a little kiss is that bear hug add-on that I told you about from before. It lets you counteract a fear effect when you bear hug somebody. Bounce Out lets you, when an enemy fails to hit you, you can try to jump away. Endear, I almost said Enbear, but no, Endear lets you make it so a target is less likely to attack you. If you do a diplomacy, performance, or deception against their DC, and they will take a penalty to try to use hostile actions against you. Okay, that's fair. Happy Tidings. Whenever you cast a non-cantrip spell with the positive healing or composition traits, you gain temporary hit points equal to half your level. All right, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. They last until the beginning of your next turn. Until the beginning of your next turn, you can treat successful will saving throws as if they were critical successes. That's really good. That's a really, really, really powerful ancestry feat. Awesome. A Perfect Picnic is, yes, it's a bear picnic. You literally are so good. You could spread out a blanket and put out a perfect arrangement of food and drinks, and after an hour-long activity, you and up to 7 creatures eat and drink your fill. They all regain the effects of having rested for 8 hours, other than re-preparing spells. They can't do daily preparations afterwards, but everything else are good to go. So I that flavor on that is just absolutely excellent. I love it. I love it. I love it. 17th level, you do get Beacon of Peace. This is the full-on Care Bear Stare, the full-on Comforting Glow. Targets can't make hostile actions when they fail a will save against your class or spell DC, whichever is higher, which is what I always want to see on Ancestry Feats when I look at the DC for them. Or the 17th level Best Friend. Love the flavor of this. Single action, you target one person, and you basically say, for this round, you are my best friend. And while you have a designated best friend, you can, as a reaction, when they're reduced to 0 hit points, take 2 actions, including Leap, Stride, casting a spell with the healing trait, strike the character that reduced them to 0. I like that flavor a lot. It's fun. It totally matches what you're trying to do here. You get to literally play that protective mama bear archetype, and it's great. This is Merrybears, Pathfinder Ancestry by Calder Cadavid. I like this ancestry way more than I thought I would with that cover. There's so much cool flavor here. There's so much lore here with these fun little bears. They're grand. It's a really, really cool product, and you should totally check that out. Where are we on time? We're good on time. All right, we got one more here. Twilight Archer Archetype by Lazarus Dark. This includes 12 feats, full spell list, mutable spell list, we'll get into that, and the Bracers of Evolution magic item. It has a suggested retail price of only $1, and all proceeds go to the Extra Life charity. Lazarus Dark worked on this very publicly on the Pathfinder 2E subreddit, where he got a lot of suggestions that made its way into the final class. The idea of the Twilight Archer is that you can switch between light or shadow. Depending on which one you do, your cantrip, which the Twilight Arrow cantrip, yes, your cantrip, your magic bow will do different types of damage. You conjure that bow with your Manifest Twilight bow free action, and from then on you have this cool energy bow that shoots those shadow or light arrows that power up as you level. While you're in light bow, enemies who normally see with dark vision or light blindness will have, they'll be flat-footed to you immediately when you first manifest your bow in battle. Likewise with shadow bow, enemies with low light vision or dark vision will be flat-footed against your first attack. So that's usually probably your best way to first decide whether you want light or shadow, but a lot of it will also depend on what you want to cast, because we got to get into this spellcasting list here. So the archetype has the basic, advanced, expert, expanded, etc., spellcasting feats that unlock further levels of spellcasting. These basic bonded spellcasting benefits don't play off a normal tradition list as normal. Instead, it has its own spellcasting list, Twilight Bowcasting, That includes a number of spells that you could use regardless of if you're in Shadow or Light mode. But then Shadow and Light mode each has their own special spell list. Whether you're in Shadow, for example, only Shadows could cast Ray of Frost cantrip. And only Light could cast Dancing Light cantrip or Disrupt Undead cantrip. So each of these has their own spells depending on which style you're in. And it is a 2-action activity, a 2-action action, to shift from either Light to Shadow or Shadow to Light. While you're in Shadow, you cannot use any of your Light abilities and vice versa. You get weakness to the other side. So while you're in Light, you do get some weakness to Shadow. And while you're in Shadow, you'll get weakness to positive and other Light effects. Yeah, the binary spell list really is fascinating, Faceless Man. It really is. There is a feat called Twilight Harmony at 8th level. By the way, this is a 6th level dedication, so this is higher level. It's a charisma-based class. I gotta tell you that right off the bat, too. You need 14 charisma to take it, and everything keys off charisma. You're using spell attacks, not weapon attack rolls. You're using spell attack rolls for the light arrow, because it is a cantrip. So you are a little bit more of a spellcaster. It's very much like Eldritch Archer inspired, as I believe it says in the Reddit post, or it says here. So Twilight Harmony, when it's dusk or dawn, you can use the Twilight Harmony feat to cast both your spell lists and effectively get all the benefits of Light and Shadow without any of the backdraws. Effectively, you're like in the eclipse. I know there are some GMs who don't want to keep track of that, who might not want players to take that. Fortunately, it is a feat, so it is optional. There is no mandatory requirement that Twilight Harmony be allowed in any campaign that you allow the Twilight Archer in, so that's really cool. Really, really solid design choice there. Enhanced Twilight Arrow lets you add additional damage to your arrow. You could take an additional action to use the cantrip to add extra damage. Great. Twilight Traveler, here's some more of those binary options. This lets you gain either Angelic Wings if you're in Light state, or Shadow Jump if you're in Shadow state. It functions as a focus spell that functions as one of those two when you use Twilight Traveler. So I like that a lot. As you'll see here, they are hyperlinked. So you click here and it will open it up in Archives of Nethys for you. And you could go ahead and read exactly what the spell does. I love when love when that's done. It makes it so much easier to review. It makes it so much easier to use. Hyperlink your stuff. All right. Augmented Bowcasting gives you either Scintillating Spell or Shadow Spell, depending on if you're in Light or Shadow state. Those are both focus spells. I believe they're both from Sorcerer Bloodlines. Expert Twilight Spellcasting improves your bound spellcasting. Expanded Twilight Arrow gives you even more additional damage and the effects of telekinetic maneuver on your arrow. Phase Twilight Arrow lets you shoot through obstacles to hit at people. As long as you can. It ignores the concealed condition and the hidden condition. You still have to know that they're there, so it won't ignore the unobserved condition. But yeah, Rain of Twilight lets you shoot one arrow. It multiplies. It rains down on them. That's a classic. It's awesome. I would take it just for the flavor alone. And then you have Master and Expansive Twilight Spellcasting, as this is very much a spellcasting class. Bracers of Evocation are a slightly discounted way to apply property runes to your Twilight Arrow. And we're going to get into Twilight Arrow right now because this is a really, really interesting design choice. Twilight Arrow is the primary cantrip you're going to be using every round. It lets you shoot your arrow and do damage, and the damage increases as you level. It's exactly like you think it would be. What's interesting here is that the failure is not no damage. The failure is they still take all the damage of your property runes. I think that's neat. I think that's really neat. I'm not 1,000,000% sure how I feel about it yet. I want to see it in play, but I think that's really cool. And the critical failure even could potentially do damage. It does damage to the square, meaning creature occupying the square of the next physical object that you would strike along the line within range of your arrow, if there is anything within range. I mean, I guess if you're in a big open field, I guess it could maybe hit the ground. But again, it only does the property runes, so most, I guess at level 16, you'll get to do like, I don't know, maybe 3d6, 4d6. You'd have to check out all the weapon runes and consider it. I think that works for me. Like, you are using spell attack. Your spell attack will likely not ever be that high, and even if it is, cool, this is just on a failure. Spending a full action and getting a failure knowing you're suffering from multiple attack penalty for future actions with an archer is extremely painful. There's a lot fewer ways to apply conditions to enemies from far away, so there's a good chance that you're going to need something like this failure and critical failure effect. And while it's just a little bit of damage, especially at that higher level, being able to do a d6 with a single action is pathetic. But it makes players feel like their actions still counted for something, which is very important for those high level play. You being a big epic 17th level hero and not doing anything in a round because the dice didn't like you it just makes you feel bad. And especially at those levels, you don't want to be using your hero points on attack rolls. Maybe you do. I'm not the hero point judge here, but so I really enjoy that. All right, so if you are watching on the official Paizo stream, you should stick around after my show because there is Paizo Fridays. They'll be talking about new products and possibly announcements. Who knows? They're always epic. They're always big. I always stick around for them, and you should too. If you're on my channel, maybe you should go over to the official Paizo channel and check it out because those are always really, really fun. Next week, I will be on the normal 4 o'clock time for Infiknight reviews. In addition, I will be on my channel on Tuesday at 6 p.m. for Booster Bestiary, where you could watch me make a monster out of random TCG booster packs for Pathfinder 2nd Edition live and help me out with that. Until then, I'm seeing lots of great new products on Pathfinder Infinite, which will mean lots of more content and lots of more reviews. If anyone out there has a Pathfinder Infinite product that they would like to see reviewed, or if anyone wants to make any kind of announcements on my show, please go ahead and find me on social media, stick around and chat, Discord me, figure it out. I'm all over. No Direction Podcast Discord is probably the easiest way to find me. Thank you very much. Hope everyone has an excellent weekend, and don't forget that you have hero points when you need that reroll. Thank you very much. Have a great